song Trilogy is a play that won a Tony for Best Play of 1983, and it's on stage right now at Theater on the Square here in San Francisco. It is a piece of theater that will dig deep within you and draw out every emotion you have, and we have two of its stars with us. Would you please welcome Brian Kerwin and Donald Corren.
I accept this award from my mother and my...
Isn't it? Well, welcome to
Well,
People Are
thank you.
Talking. We saw the play quite a while ago, and we have been dying to get you on the program ever since, and here you are. It's wonderful. It is, and I will say that this is a personal feeling, one of the best pieces of theater I've seen, certainly the best piece of theater I've seen in San Francisco. It is just a terrific play.
Thank you. We like it.
Yeah.
And you have impeccable taste.
I thank you very much.
And so does San Francisco, because we came here with every intention of being here for 6 or 8 weeks or something like that, just to test the waters of how the West Coast audience would be and maybe bring it down to Los Angeles. And we can't get out of town.
Well, I would think of any place, San Francisco would be very popular.
Oh, yeah. It's
Well, no one quite... I remember when we were waiting to go, no one expected the play to get to off-Broadway from off-Broadway, let alone to on-Broadway, let alone to a Tony, let alone to tour. So each step, the producers have felt, well, what's going to happen next? And when they created the tour, no one knew if it'd be here for a week or 4 weeks or a month, and people here are not good. They're loving it.
Well, the play deals with homosexuality, bisexuality, and a lot of
mothers and
sons.
And
it has universal applications, but a lot of people think, well, maybe straight people can't relate to this play. I think that's true.
No, and that is a reason why people think that San Francisco would be a good town, because of the high percentage of a gay population that's there. But the play survives on the straight audience. You can't just have a specialized audience.
It's about relationships. It's about people relating to each other.
It's that people will ask me when they say you're in Short Song Trilogy, what's it about? And so each time I try to answer the question, it crystallizes that it's about a man trying to make a family. He happens to be coming from a more homosexual point of view, and he happens to work as a drag queen, but that's all auxiliary to the fact that he happens to want a son and a mate and get along with his mother and have a job that he doesn't hate too much and have a house that's decent. And I think the major appeal of the play is that everybody deals with their mother that way, whether they're straight or gay or blue or pink or tall or short. Mothers try to make you feel bad. But I love mine. I love my mother. God love you, Mom.
Yeah. And Mom could be watching because you're from Stockton.
Mine's from Stockton, and Ma is watching, and how are you?
Well, the play is... even though Neil Simon obviously did not write it, but it's very Neil Simonish in the sense of the humor. I mean, the one-liners are coming.
And that
out
is
like
one
that.
thing that keeps it going so strong for such a broad audience, is that it's... When I saw it on Broadway, before I knew I was going to be in it, I walked out telling people I had just seen the funniest play I'd ever seen in my life. It is just... And we are on stage. We spend half the time of the play just listening to laughter coming from the audience.
He has an amazing... There are some one-liners in it that are...
He's got all the best ones. I'm basically...
The straight man.
In more ways than one, the straight man.
That was a good line. We had a wonderful phone conversation, I think.
Well, there's a scene in the first act in which Ed and Arnold have already met, and now they're having this, the quintessential conversation on the phone when one is trying to break up and one is trying to get the information out. And
you're Arnold.
I'm Arnold. And wonderful comments like, let's do a few lines start from.
What is this?
They're on the phone, and I was very embarrassed.
The phone call.
I've called because he hasn't called in 6 days, and usually he calls every day.
And what is your famous line to your friend? You say, "Why I wouldn't sit by the phone."
He goes, "Murray, of course he's going to call. You think I'd sit by the phone for 6 days if he wasn't going to call?" Sitting by the phone, So
it leads up to...
You call.
Oh, he says, "Ed, you can't expect me just to sit here all the time waiting for you to call."
I never asked you to. I told you to go out, have a good time, meet other people.
I can't, all right? I'm not built that way.
Well, I'm just not ready to make that kind of a commitment.
I'm not asking you to, but Ed, if I have to accept that you are going out, then you have to accept that I'm not.
They are twins.
It's like... And you can just see, you can hear, we do it very downstage, and the audience is fairly close to the stage, and you can just hear that slight pause after that line, and 500 people go, oh, I did that.
Oh,
I remember
yes.
doing that.
Oh,
Now,
yes.
I mentioned that you are from Stockton,
Oh, yes.
and the whole family is really excited. I mean, they've chartered buses to bring the relatives to San Francisco to see you.
Yes, that's true. We've done 2 so far. We're working on the 3rd now.
It's ridiculous backstage. Every so often I'll have a friend drop by. Every so often one of the other cast members will have a friend. Every night, 10 or 12 relatives, cousins. You don't remember me, but I was, you remember you when a kid? Gee.
Yes.
Now, Donald, you play the drag queen, the homosexual who wants the home, the family, wants to get along with his mother. Ed, Brian, rather, your part of Ed is a lot more complex, and we really see you go through a lot of stuff during the play.
Yeah.
I mean,
Very simplistic definition of it is that it's a man who wants to be, he's the Marlboro man. We used to talk about it. He's a rough guy. He's rebuilding a house upstate New York. He wants a wife and kids, everything. And it just irks him to no degree, to no end, that he falls in love with a drag queen. And he didn't want that at all. And now he's stuck in a position of going with trying to create, to fulfill the image that he created of himself, or to follow his feelings and be in love with the person he's in love with, even though it doesn't match up with his own image of himself. And he's very confused throughout the thing. And that's what this phone conversation was all about. Not only am I breaking up with him, but I'm breaking up with him to go out with a woman, and subsequently marry, and subsequently divorce, and
then you visit
and get back together.
Yeah. But one of the things, I think one of the strongest elements of the play, and one of the things that the phone call personifies so well, but even throughout all the relationships, is that it's that old thing about how when people try to communicate and they talk at each other, and you kind of say what it is you think, you're responding to what you hear the other person saying, and they're responding to what they hear you saying, but you're just doing this the whole time, and kind of like beating at each other and beating each other. And Arnold calls Ed to say hello. Ed tells him he's dating someone else, and what Arnold hears is, "You're throwing me over." And all he says is, "No, I want to keep seeing you."
Yeah, all the
and all
time
Arnold
they're
hears
saying,
is,
I
"No, no,
love
you're
to
throwing
see
me
you."
over," and they hang up and they don't see each other for months.
Yeah.
But they meant to say other things, and all the way through, with the mother, with the son. It's an amazing play. I'm just delighted to get to say these lines every night.
you have a scene in the first act that is probably, we could call it controversial. It is the scene where you go to the back room of a bar and subsequently have a liaison. I don't know what word.
Liaison.
A physical liaison. We could say a physical liaison.
There were
with a
so many
stranger.
words I was told I couldn't say. I was waiting to see what you were going to say.
And I'm sure that when a lot of people see that, that's a shocker to them.
Yes, I think it probably is. However,
it is a monologue, so it's very, so there's only one person up there, so it does take certain
skill.
edge off of it. Yeah, right.
it's when that's the way that scene is directed is it's very much about a man in a strange situation that he's trying to romanticize and make the best of. Again, Arnold is just a hopeless romantic. And there he is in this thoroughly carnal, promiscuous situation, perceiving it as a romantic event. And that's just flowers and dinner and everything. But it isn't. And that's the way it's directed. I mean, it's very strongly directed to have no sexual, no graphic sexuality, and many people who have no place for that kind of promiscuity in their definition of the world see it as a dance number. A man who goes to a dance bar, and it works for them just fine. Because it's about, Arnold doesn't go to dance bars, and there he is dancing, and then he thinks he's going to fall in love, but he doesn't.
Somebody actually thinks you're dancing?
There have been people, yes, who, people who, it's a new step.
Well, it certainly is choreographed away and brilliantly done, I might add.
It doesn't use much of the dance floor.
No.
Nice.
It's a limited...
We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll find out more about these two gentlemen themselves. Stay tuned.
stars of Torch Song Trilogy are with us this afternoon on People Are Talking. Yesterday we interviewed an actor, Perry King. I don't know if you know him.
I met him.
And Perry did a play, a film actually, where he played a homosexual. And yesterday
Different story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But you're a boy.
And
Yeah.
he said that he didn't know, but he felt that playing a homosexual may have hampered his career for a period of time. For then 2 years after that, he didn't get any work. Do you feel that by playing a homosexual on stage that you might get stereotyped into a specific category?
No,
Or that it would hamper your career
If
at
for
all?
some reason you did it for 6 performances in a row, if you did play this homosexual, then a movie, a different homosexual, then you might get, but the fact that out of 6 or 10, 20 roles that I've done, one was a homosexual, I can't imagine
That it
anybody getting too keyed into it. And
I also think, yeah, I mean, I think that if it wasn't as good a play or wasn't as good a role, so it wasn't as multifaceted a role, for instance, because that is a question that I get a lot, because it's such a first to have such an epic role and such a long play that's moving so many people happen to be through a homosexual point of view, that I do get that question a lot. And it strikes me that if there were less facets than there are, then maybe it would be a typing role. But he's so many more things, as is Ed. There's so many more things that it's like asking if someone who's playing a Southerner in The Little Foxes will only now be cast because he does such a good Southern accent. It's just a good play.
Yeah.
And also your role especially is so broad that it isn't like any other particular homosexual role. It's about this raving lunatic, basically.
It's so good to me. It's so good to me.
Now, Brian, your first paying role as an actor, I believe, was what, Greg Foster on
Greg
Young and the
Foster
Restless?
on The Young and the Restless, yeah.
Did you enjoy doing a soap opera?
Not at all. Not one little itty bit. No, I didn't. I don't know. When I signed up for it, I signed up for 3 years. I felt like I was joining the Army. I thought, there goes the next 3 years of my life. And it's a particular stylization of drama that I can't knock, because it is, in its own right, a form of dramatic expression. But I didn't like doing it at all. I felt like I kept saying the same words over. Out of 40 episodes that I did, I think 35 of them I had an argument with my brother Snapper over whether we were going to unplug my father off of a heart-lung machine or something like that. And it was always the same argument. And it wasn't my idea of a good time, no.
Now, your roots are musical comedy. Ta-da.
Yes, I'm talking about the kids in the Knickerbocker Hotel, Harold Hill. Yeah.
Don't start it.
Because I can do all the songs. Yes, basically, yeah. Born and bred on musicals. And in fact, had been doing a run of musical reviews, and had been praying for no pun intended, but a straight role for a month. And when this one came up, I mean, it was like answer to more prayers than one. But yeah, I'd done. Last year was Noel Coward reviews and Tomfoolery and Day in Hollywood, Night in the Ukraine, and a Marx Brothers musical. And
well, this is really wonderful, because lots of people say about musical performers, well, they're lightweights, you know, and they can't do the heavy drama, and that's baloney.
that is baloney, boy. I mean, the musical comedy performers I know are some of the hardest working and the most versatile, because now New York Stage is producing more and more shows. They don't separate the talents. I mean, you've got to be able to do everything, and the people that you meet now in musical comedy can do all three: sing, dance, and act, or they don't work, because there's no singing choruses and then dancing choruses and then principals. Oh no.
I'm in trouble when they ask me to sing and dance.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen there.
Stay blonde.
You've got, what was there, a high school teacher in Stockton that
Yes.
you attribute a lot of your really wanting the theater?
Yeah, I was very fortunate in that for some reason, out of nowhere, in Stockton, California, was a very devoted and enlightened educator named Tom McKenzie, who created a theater department out of his love for educational theater, and also a real...
Was this in high school?
Yeah, at Lincoln High School in Stockton, California. And for about 5 or 6 or 7 years, or maybe more, I came a couple of years after, and it kind of dwindled down a few years after I left. He created a small theater that used to run almost like rep theater. We used to do 4 and 5 plays a year and run them for a month and a half and switch parts and tour. And it was like being in a rep company in very formative years, and that's really where I attribute the big training to.
We know our audience has some questions for you. We'll take a commercial break and be right back with Brian. Corren and Brian Kerwin, stars of Torch Song Trilogy, with us this afternoon on People Are Talking. Glenna, you had a question.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious, what kind of effect has this role had on your social life? I mean, how do your friends and neighbors feel?
The friends and neighbors aren't as much a problem, but social life into the show, we walk into the theater at 5 o'clock in the evening and don't walk out till midnight. You can kiss the social life. Matinees in the afternoon. Yeah, and both of us, especially Donald, scream and yell all through the show, so you end up trying to rest your voice all day. So all we do is you just sleep late and go to the show. So it doesn't matter much whatever other effects it would have. But,
Well, and people should know that it's about a 3.5-hour play. That's
Yeah.
a long
it's
time
yeah.
on stage.
Yeah.
For the two of
but
you.
I must also say that I have yet to hear an audience member complain about the time.
Never?
Most of them, as well as when I saw it in New York, you're stunned that 3.5 hours passed.
It's going so fast.
You just, it was, it's such a...
People, I mean, people love this play in a way I've never experienced an audience loving a play.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a long career, but I've done a lot of stage work to the exclusion of media work, and I just am used to audience reaction. I've never experienced this before.
We get standing ovations almost every night.
Unbelievable.
The audience takes you like a teddy bear. I mean,
Yes.
there is a real
And suddenly,
affection.
and it's the widest range of, I mean, some of the letters that we get from people who write very concisely and beautifully about their reaction to the play. They're coming from all these very different places, and yet they all relate to the play. I mean, incredible. I've never experienced something like this before.
The thing I like so much is that I've been in so many plays where come curtain call, me and the other actors are standing back there going, I'm not going out there, you go out there. I'm getting out of town. And it's just such a joy to know that all those people out there are thoroughly enjoying what you're doing. It's weird.
Bessie.
How do your mothers feel about your roles in the play?
My mother loves this play. She's seen it twice. Her only concern about it, when she knew we were coming to San Francisco with it, and she knew I did it in New York, and she said she knew it was about that the third act included some fairly heavy confrontation scenes between the son and the mother, and she said, Donald, is this play written such that I'm going to hate myself when I leave? And I said, no, there's no blame in this play. Everybody's right, everybody's wrong. She's seen it twice, and in fact, one of her favorite comic scenes is the scene you were talking about, the backroom encounter. She thinks it's one of the funnier scenes she's ever seen.
Oh, there is. And you know what? There's wonderful laughter, but there's also great poignancy, because you can hear people really kind of weeping at certain points. I mean, it touches some real common nerves in people.
Everything, all the reviews and talk about it seems to play up the humor because there is so much humor in it. But I've had a number of people come after the show and say, you didn't warn me that it also, there's a bit of weeping out in the audience come the end of the show.
Well, before we give you the number and how you can get tickets for Torch Song, we've got a couple of things to tell you about first. Brian Kerwin has a feature film coming out, Nickel Mountain.
Nickel Mountain.
It's based on the John Gardner
Yeah.
novel. Donald, you're appearing with Peter Minton, who is the pianist at L'Etoile at the Plush Room at the York Hotel on October 3rd, singing music of the 20s and the 30s.
As a benefit to AIDS and KS.
That's October 3rd. Now, of course, the whole thing, we want you to go see Torch Song Trilogy. It's in town at Theater on the Square through November 13th. There's the phone number, 433-9500.
It is a don't miss.
We haven't even touched upon you two this afternoon. hopefully we can have you back before you leave town and do a show. Brian, I have to say, I saw him on a talk show 3 or 4 years ago. It was John Davidson or Merv Griffin, and the whole interview was you hopping freight trains to go across the country.
Me and 2 friends and a fox terrier hopping freight trains to Alabama.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the 18 takes with the kiss with Heather Thomas. Continued success to both of you.
Thank you
Tom
very
and
much.
Brian. Nice hand for them. And I'll be right back. Stay tuned.
He's the rage of Broadway with 2 hit shows, and he's an outspoken homosexual.
10% of the world is gay.
Is it really?
10% of every family, every town, every village.
Tonight, Barbara Walters in a serious talk about homosexuality with 2-time Tony Award-winning playwright Harvey Fierstein, when 2020 continues.